My pack called my pregnancy shameful. The Alpha King announced it to his entire kingdom. Welcome to the Story King, where every tale holds a crown of emotion and intrigue. The stones they hurled didn't break my skin, but their words shattered something far deeper. I stood in the center of the Clearwater Pack's gathering circle, my hand instinctively protecting my still flat stomach, while dozens of wolves I'd called family screamed accusations that turned my blood to ice. Shameful, disgrace, abomination. The words echoed off the ancient pines surrounding us, each one a dagger aimed at the tiny life growing inside me. You don't even know who the father is, do you? Luna Margaret's voice cut through the chaos like a whip. Her silver hair gleamed in the moonlight as she pointed a gnarled finger at me. A wolf who spreads her legs for strangers has no place in this pack. I wanted to scream that she was wrong, that I knew exactly who the father was, but the truth was a secret that would only make things worse. Because the father wasn't some rogue or stranger. He was the Alpha King himself. And nobody would ever believe me. Exile her, someone shouted from the crowd. Mark her as Omega, strip her rank. Peter Thomas stepped forward, his face twisted with disgust. He'd known me since I was a child, had trained me in combat, had told me I had the makings of a fine warrior. Now he looked at me like I was something rotten he'd stepped in. Alara Whitestone, he announced formally, by the laws of the Clearwater Pack and the judgment of your Luna, you are hereby stripped of your rank and cast out. You have until dawn to leave our territory. If you return, you will be killed on sight. The finality of his words hit me like a physical blow. I stumbled backward, my wolf whimpering inside me, confused and hurt. These were our people, our family, but they'd made their choice. As I turned to leave, a familiar scent stopped me cold, pine and winter frost, with an underlying note of raw power that made every wolf in the vicinity instinctively lower the gaze. My heart hammered against my ribs as I slowly looked up. The Alpha King stood at the edge of the clearing. King Damien Ashford was everything the legends claimed and more. Even in the darkness, his presence commanded attention, tall and broad-shouldered, with silver eyes that could freeze a wolf's heart or set it ablaze. His black hair was pulled back, revealing the sharp planes of his face and the thin scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. 300 wolves had bowed to him the day he took the throne at 25. Now, 5 years later, his authority was absolute across all packs in the Northern Territories. And he was staring directly at me. What's going on here? His voice was quiet, but it carried across the clearing with undeniable authority. Luna Margaret quickly composed herself, dipping into a respectful bow. Your Majesty, we didn't expect, this is merely a pack matter. One of our wolves has brought shame upon us, and we are dealing with it accordingly. Shame. King Damien's eyes never left mine, and I saw something flicker in their silver depths. What shame has she brought? She's pregnant, my king, Peter Thomas explained, his tone apologetic. And she won't name the father. Such behavior cannot be tolerated in a respectable pack. The silence that followed was suffocating. King Damien walked forward, the crowd parting before him like water. He stopped directly in front of me, so close I could feel the heat radiating from his body. My wolf purred despite our dire circumstances, recognizing him, yearning for him. That night 3 months ago hadn't been random. I'd gone to the Royal Summit as part of Clearwater's delegation, just a low-ranking warrior meant to stand guard. But he'd found me in the moonlit gardens, and something had sparked between us, something primal and undeniable. One night of passion that had felt like destiny itself had brought us together. But he was a king, and I was nobody. Look at me, he commanded softly. I raised my eyes to his, expecting to see disgust or dismissal. Instead, I found something that made my breath catch, a fierce protectiveness mixed with what almost looked like fear. Is it true? He asked, his voice pitched low enough that only I could hear. You're pregnant. I nodded, unable to form words. His jaw tightened, and for a moment, I thought he might walk away, might leave me to my fate. After all, What was one lowly wolf to a king? Then he turned to face the assembled pack, and his expression transformed into something terrible and beautiful. His alpha aura exploded outward, forcing every wolf present to their knees. Even Luna Margaret, with all her decades of power, crumpled under the weight of his dominance. You call her pregnancy shameful? King Damien's voice thundered across the clearing. You dare cast judgment on her when you know nothing of her circumstances? Your Majesty, please, Luna Margaret gasped, struggling under the pressure of his aura. We only sought to maintain the pack's honor. Honor, he laughed, but there was no humor in it. You know nothing of honor. This woman, he turned, extending his hand to me, carries a child of royal blood. The words hung in the air like lightning about to strike. I stared at him in shock. What was he doing? The child is mine, King Damien declared, his voice ringing with absolute authority. Alara Whitestone is pregnant with the heir to the Northern Throne. The clearing erupted into chaos. Wolves gasped and whispered, their shock palpable. Luna Margaret looked like she might faint, while Beta Thomas had gone pale as snow. King Damien's hand remained extended toward me, steady and sure. Come, Alara. I was trembling as I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and solid, and he pulled me gently to his side. His other hand came to rest on my lower back, a possessive gesture that didn't go unnoticed by the crowd. I came here tonight to announce news to all the packs in the Northern Territories, he continued, his eyes scanning the assembled wolves with cold precision. But it seems the Clearwater pack needed to hear it first, directly, and witness their own disgrace. Let this be a lesson to all who would judge without knowledge. He pulled out a small device, a communication crystal that linked to every pack house in the kingdom, and activated it. A soft blue glow indicated that every alpha, Luna, and high-ranking wolf in the Northern Territories was now listening. My fellow wolves, King Damien began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. I speak to you tonight with news of great importance. 3 months ago, at the Royal Summit, I met my mate. My heart stopped. Mate, she is Alara Whitestone of the Clearwater Pack, and she carries my heir. I claim her before the Moon Goddess and all the kingdoms as my chosen Luna, my queen, and the future mother of the next Alpha King. The words washed over me like a tidal wave. This couldn't be real. This had to be some sort of dream or hallucination brought on by stress. But his hand was solid around mine, his presence undeniably real. Any wolf who speaks against her speaks against me, he declared. Any pack that refuses her shelter refuses the throne. And any harm that comes to her or our child will be answered with the full fury of the royal army. He deactivated the crystal and turned to Luna Margaret, who was still on her knees. You cast out your future queen. You called her shameful and tried to exile her. What do you think the appropriate punishment should be for such treachery? Please, Your Majesty, the Luna begged, tears streaming down her face. We didn't know. You didn't ask, he corrected coldly. You saw a vulnerable female and chose cruelty over compassion. You chose judgment over understanding. His eyes swept across the crowd. All of you did. He looked down at me then, and his expression softened in a way I suspected few ever witnessed. Are you hurt? I shook my head, not trusting my voice. Did they touch you? No. I managed to whisper. Just words. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. Words can wound deeper than claws. He looked back at the pack. The Clearwater pack will be placed under royal investigation. Luna Margaret, you are stripped of your title pending that investigation. Beta Thomas, you will assume temporary leadership. Your Majesty, I found my voice finally. Please, they didn't know. They should have given you the benefit of doubt, he said firmly, but his hand squeezed mine gently. They should have protected you, not persecuted you. He lifted my hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to my knuckles, his eyes never leaving mine. From this moment forward, I will ensure no one ever makes you feel ashamed again. The tenderness in his voice, the barely restrained emotion flickering across his face, It was so at odds with the powerful king who just brought an entire pack to its knees. "Come," he said softly. "Let's get you somewhere safe." He led me toward the black SUV waiting at the edge of the clearing, his hand never leaving mine. As we walked, I felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on us, but I didn't care anymore. My mind was reeling with questions. Why had he claimed me so publicly? Did he actually remember our night together, or was this some political move? And what had he meant by calling me his mate? Before I could ask any of these questions, we reached the vehicle. King Damien opened the door for me, ever the gentleman despite the chaos we just left behind. But as I moved to get in, his hand caught my arm gently. "Alara," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "that night at the summit, I need you to know it wasn't random for me. I felt the bond, even if you didn't. I've been searching for you ever since." My eyes widened. "You have, every day," he admitted, and the vulnerability in his expression made my chest ache. "I knew your scent, your face, but not your name or pack. My people have been combing through records for months." His hand came up to cup my cheek. "When I heard the rumors tonight about Clearwater Pack casting out a pregnant female, something told me to come. And then I saw you standing there, so brave, so strong, protecting our child even as they attacked you." He trailed off, his thumb brushing across my cheekbone with heartbreaking gentleness. "I'm sorry I didn't find you sooner," he whispered. "I'm sorry you had to face this alone." Before I could respond, one of his guards approached, his expression urgent. "Your Majesty, we need to leave. There's been an incident at the western border." King Damien's expression immediately shifted back to the commanding Alpha King. He helped me into the vehicle and climbed in after me. As the SUV pulled away from the Clearwater territory, I watched the lights of the only home I'd ever known fade into the darkness. "What kind of incident?" I heard myself ask. The guard in the front seat exchanged a glance with the driver before answering. "It's the Shadowmere pack, Your Majesty. They've crossed into our territory with a full war party." My blood ran cold. The Shadowmere pack, brutal, ruthless, and led by Alpha Kristoff, who'd been challenging King Damien's authority for years. King Damien's hand found mine again, squeezing reassuringly. But I could feel the tension radiating from him. "How many?" "At least 200 warriors, sir." "And?" The guard hesitated. "Alpha Kristoff is demanding an audience with you. He says if you don't come alone, he'll consider it an act of war." "A trap?" King Damien said flatly. "Obviously, sir." We drove in tense silence for several minutes. I could feel King Damien's internal struggle, his duty to his kingdom warring with his newly declared protection of me. Finally, he turned to face me, his silver eyes intense. "I need to handle this," he said. "But I promise you, Alara, I will come back. You'll be taken to the royal palace, where you'll be safe. My personal guard will protect you with their lives." "What if it's not safe?" I asked, my hand unconsciously moving to my stomach. "What if Kristoff knows about the baby? What if this is all connected?" The question hung between us, heavy with implications. King Damien's expression darkened, and I saw the moment the same thought occurred to him. "How would Kristoff know?" he asked slowly. "I only found out tonight. Unless..." The guard's phone buzzed. He answered it, listened for a moment, then his face went pale. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice shaking. "Alpha Kristoff just made a public announcement. He claims that Alara Whitestone is actually his daughter, stolen from him as a child and raised by the Clearwater Pack. He's demanding her return, along with his grandchild, or he'll declare war on the entire Northern Kingdom." The SUV fell into shocked silence. I stared at King Damien, my mind reeling. Kristoff's daughter. It was impossible, wasn't it? But then I remembered something Luna Margaret had said once, years ago, when I'd asked why I had no family records before the age of 5. She told me I was found at the border, a child lost in a rogue attack. No one had ever come to claim me. What if that had been a lie? King Damien's eyes met mine, and I saw the same calculation happening in his mind. If it's true, he said softly, then our child isn't just the heir to the Northern Throne. They're also the heir to the Shadowmere pack, I finished, my voice barely a whisper. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't just about love or mates or kingdoms. This was about war. The SUV's headlights cut through the darkness as we sped toward an uncertain future. King Damien's hand remained wrapped around mine, an anchor in the storm that was building around us. Whatever happens, he said, his voice fierce with determination, I will protect you both. I swear it on my crown and my life. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to trust in the bond I felt growing between us, in the tenderness I'd seen beneath his kingly exterior. But as the lights of the royal palace appeared in the distance, and my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number, every instinct I had screamed that we were walking into something far more dangerous than either of us realized. I looked down at the screen, and my blood turned to ice. The message was simple, just 5 words, but they changed everything. Welcome home, daughter, come alone. Thank you for reading this tale from the Story King, where stories reign supreme and every ending is just a new beginning.